Your chair is much more comfortable than mine, though.
You think so? I hate that chair. I think it's terrible.
The live stream is starting. We're ready to go.
Too late to switch it now.
I think somebody actually switched mine. I was like, oh.
Kelly and Councilor Moore and start us.
Yeah.
Chairman Kelly, I think we're ready to go. I think you're muted.
Almost ready. Just need another minute or so.
Yeah, there you go. We can hear you.
Okay. Just about ready. Okay.
Looks like we dodged the storm of the century, huh? Albany, you got 20 inches and Binghamton 40 inches. Yeah.
Just enough nuisance snow today. I had to put equipment out, and actually twice. This morning went out, and then in the afternoon it kicked back up. We had to go back out to retreat a little bit. So it's cold. Temperatures make it a little difficult. I mean, better than getting 20 plus inches.
But probably, I don't know if I found it for myself when I do my plowing. I find that whether you have 6 inches or a foot, it sometimes takes just as much time and labor to plow the 6.
Absolutely,
Yeah, those little ones are such a nuisance, like today.
Yeah.
This is such a nuisance little storm. You're spreading all that material for just a dusting, but that little dusting causes so many problems on the road that if you don't take care of it, you're gonna get accidents.
Well, actually, I think you find that more people look at the dustings and don't even take it as,
Right.
and then it's even worse.
Yep.
Whereas if you had 6 inches,
We'll take the dusting over the 40 inches though. I think. Yeah, Pennsylvania this morning was saying they had 40 inches.
oh yeah, I'll show you. My cousin Charlie from Pennsylvania sent me photos of this. They got 28 inches, and you can, from his porch to his windows, there's like a foot space. He's totally snowed in. They crawled out through the windows. I was like, oh gee,
Where
I
was
missed that.
Where was that?
Up in Scranton area in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they got really hit. Yeah.
Yeah, they got, he was like, wow. Of course, Charlie's 70-something years old as well.
Your daughter lives out west, right? I think Mikey was showing me pictures one time.
From Truckee, that's California. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a ton of snowfall.
Oh yeah, she loves it. She can be on the ocean at one moment and skiing the next.
Yeah, I grew up like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will call to order this meeting of the Finance and Budget Committee, December 17th, 2020. We'll start with a roll call.
Councilor Kelly,
Here.
Councilor Moore,
Here.
Mayor Reed,
Present.
Councilor Gibbs,
Here.
Councilor McFarland,
I'm here, Beth.
Councilor Brody.
Here.
We have a very small agenda for this meeting. Shouldn't take very long, but let's leave a lot of time to discuss the budget. I think we've had some breakthroughs with the budget.
Can you hear Councilor Brody? Can you hear okay?
Yeah. It's a very small agenda.
Okay. It's just you're not coming in very loud here, Councilor Kelly, but anyway, go ahead.
Okay, let's see what I can do to rectify that. Does that help any?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay, I'll talk loud. So we have two basic items on the agenda to talk about. One is an IT contract with SimQuest that the council will be asking the mayor to authorize this evening. I asked Matt Keefe from SimQuest to come be here and answer any questions that the council might have about that. Do you have any questions that I can answer or possibly Matt can answer?
I have some questions.
Okay, Elizabeth.
I received, and I don't know, I don't think this is going to be a question for Mr. Keefe to answer. I think this is going to be a question for the mayor and you to answer. I've received some emails and some phone calls with concerns about the RFP being sent out for 14 months ago and how I want to word it exactly the way it was sent to me. Hang on, I'll put it right here. Okay, so concerns that the companies that wanted to bid on this weren't given an opportunity to present to the council, which I understand with COVID is difficult, but they could still do it by Zoom now, but didn't have an opportunity to present to the council basically their proposal, and how I got two separate communications and they both said the same thing, that the RFP request that went out 14 months ago does not match the scope of what we're going to be bidding on, and wondered why there was this big disparity in their view, and why they weren't allowed to make a presentation to the council to basically try and argue, why they should be the best fit for the RFP. So I am sure, I'm looking at attendees, I'm sure somebody from there is watching or is going to come on to comment. So could you answer that question?
Yes, we set up an IT committee, as you may recall, that consisted of 3 counselors, Richard Marks and a gentleman from SUNY, who's a cybersecurity specialist, and we reviewed all of the proposals. We scored them on a rubric, I guess you could call it, that measured their responses to each and every concern we had, and the winning bidder in our estimation was SimQuest. So and the other thing, of course, is the price. The price was so much more attractive. So those were our reasons for choosing the company that we chose.
Okay,
so for the record, I've not been involved in any way in this process. I've recused myself from it from the very beginning.
So yes. Who was on the committee? I forget.
Well,
besides Richard and this other gentleman that you referenced.
Councilor Barbell, who was no longer with us, of course, myself and Jeff Moore. And we did review, and we had interviews with the bidders, and we're satisfied that our decision is the correct one.
So the complaint I'm getting from 2 different people is that the scope requested in the RFP does not match the final product, which sounded to them like there was, I can't really word it the exact way that they said it to me, but basically that they felt they didn't have an opportunity to present all of what the city was looking for, because what you've settled on isn't exactly what was in the RFP scope. So I know they're watching, so would you be able to answer that?
Yes, it was a delicate balance between cost and features. So we feel like we got the most features that we could possibly get at the lowest possible cost, and we're satisfied that we've made the right decision.
Jeff, did you
perhaps legal counsel Schneller could verify this, but is it not pretty common to engage in negotiations with the successful bidder subsequent to their proposals to iron out any details and modifications?
Yeah, that is common practice. We had that discussion a couple of weeks ago when we were discussing the rec centers RFP process, where you'll have a high, the selected entity, which won't be selected for the specific contract, but then that leads to then the final contract negotiations, which that final contract is what goes in front of the council. Unless we had a different paradigm set up in the RFP, but I don't believe we had a automatic interview or presentation process set up into the RFP. Mike, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I don't think we had that provision.
No, we didn't, but we did make a point of speaking to the vendors that we considered the finalists. So again, very comfortable with our choice of SimQuest. We have on file all of the RFPs. If anybody would like to review them and see, what the final outcome was, you're welcome to do that.
Thanks, Mike.
You're
Mike,
welcome.
can you just explain the contract and what it does for the city and
Yes.
the broad strokes?
There are 4 basic things, and I'm going to refer to some documentation I have here. So I'm taking my face out of the screen for just a second, okay? But I'm right here with you. There are 4 areas that this contract will provide for the city. One is core IT services. These are things like help desk requests and those sorts of things. Break fix, we call that sometimes. The second item is antivirus, anti-malware services. That's a 1-year term. The core IT services is a 1-year term also. The security services, that includes firewalls and security monitoring 24/7. That's a 3-year term. And then there's the network services agreement, which is a blanket service terms that SimQuest provides. It basically authorizes them to come in and do these functions for the city.
I have a couple of questions because I also received emails, but I also got a phone call. And we had a chance to talk a little bit more in detail. Because this one person was telling me that they didn't even have a chance to make a presentation. Also, the services were so much different than from what was asked for. He said it was an analogy he used. It's like going out and buy a basket of fruit. When you went to them and they presented a full basket of fruit that you asked for, and then when they saw the proposal, there was only like a half a basket of fruit.
Okay.
So
Again,
they felt like it wasn't fair that if you want us to bid on a job, give us the whole job. If you only want a certain part of it, let me bid on that part you want. And they felt that you could actually probably save thousands of dollars, maybe by postponing it and putting it out for a short RFP again.
we had several bids, and all of them were good, I'd say. But the best one by far was the SimQuest bid. Covers the most services that we want at the lowest possible price. So we're very comfortable with their proposal.
But if it's not the same thing, how do you know that your competitors wouldn't be able to come up with a better deal or a better price?
It is the same thing. They all responded to the same RFP, Steve. So all of their responses were considered. And again, as I said, we're very comfortable with this selection. They're going to provide a wonderful service to the city at a very, very low cost. So
the gentleman I spoke to today said it was nothing like the RFP was. And he actually mentioned the fact that, was there anybody from the IT department that worked on creating the RFP? He felt that the local, how did he put it? The current IT from the city had no input on the selection or specifications.
Okay, I don't really want to go into the details of how we put together the RFP, but as I said before, it was done by committee, and we had very good input from everyone involved, we felt like. So as I said, I'm comfortable and satisfied that this is the right move at this time for the city. We should go ahead and do this, but you know, I'm one counselor out of 5 currently. So, but I can tell you that, you know, I have 35 years of IT experience, and I can tell you that this is a very, very good deal in my experience for the city. I think the vendor's reputable. They're going to be around for a long time, and they're going to provide us the service that we need so badly. And to delay it any longer is risky.
Well, Mike, can I just add, you know, I was involved in all those discussions, and it was pretty clear to me that, you know, this SimQuest was the best mix of price and features, what they could provide. So, I mean, I agree with that they were by far the best pick of the vendors that we interviewed.
Has the RFP changed much from your original? Because all I have is by what the telephone conversation said. And he said, Steve, it's not all the same package. It's different from what we were asked to provide.
No,
Here's another letter from another company basically saying the same thing. So you have 2 of the vendors or 2 of the people that were trying to put in bids on the job, both saying, no, this isn't what we bid on. We gave the city more than they asked for. And now they're, you know, like I said, go back to the idea, we've got a half a basket of fruit versus a full basket of fruit. And if they're going to bid, shouldn't they be able to bid on the half basket of fruit like everybody else?
Well, I can't go into details, Steve, but everyone had submitted the same, you know, they had the same proposals to send in. And we have them all on file, what they sent in. It's not a mystery what we were proposed, what we asked for.
Maybe another way to describe it is that I think the way you conducted it is often the way the city conducts it is a request for proposals. It isn't a quote.
Right.
It isn't a quote for how much are you going to deliver a 2020 Ford Explorer for. It's a request for proposals. Along these guidelines, what package of services do you think you can provide and at what price along a certain set of guidelines? So I would imagine, not having seen the proposals, that every proposal is somewhat different. And then the committee has to figure out what creates the best value overall for the city. So a conclusion that the accepted proposal is different than what one of the people who called you said they proposed, I would be surprised if that wasn't their conclusion, because I would imagine every proposal is different in some degree or another. But you guys can back me up. I wasn't at those meetings, but that's how it typically works.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time reviewing those proposals. It wasn't a few hours, it was many hours.
Like I said, I was just surprised that, you know, I see you have an email here and a gentleman called me and said, you know, it's not what we were asked for in the original RFP. And it's not fair to say we're going to award a contract to you based upon this when, I mean, I always thought when you put out an RFP, you put out, we need this, this, and this. And people said, okay, we'll do this, this, and this. And this is what it's going to cost. I didn't know that they had the flexibility.
That's not a proposal, that's a request for quotes.
Okay.
This was a request for proposals that had a fluidity on what various strengths and weaknesses each of these people may have in bringing services for the city. So I think that's what the committee wrestled with. What package of proposals was the best overall, not which quote was the best overall.
Now, does this new proposal with the new contract provide voice over data? Because that's a major expense, according to actually the gentleman said it in this letter, and another person said it, that the voice over data is an expensive piece, and SimQuest is not providing that.
Well, one thing that we really liked about the SimQuest proposal, that extremely flexible, that it does allow us to migrate to perhaps a different type of voice service at a much lower price. Again, we believe that SimQuest has the expertise and the flexibility to take us through all those conversations. And we're actually looking forward to what we can do with them over the next year.
So the SimQuest proposal has no voice over data?
The SimQuest proposal did have voice over data. It certainly did.
Does it now?
It doesn't currently have it because it hasn't been devised yet, Steve. And to your comparison about apples and oranges is just not accurate. Again, we need a great deal of fluidity to be able to design what's best for the city. And we believe, again, that the team at SimQuest provides that expertise that we so badly need.
Do we get new email? Because I still hate my email.
You know, you guys really have to decide here. Do you want to listen to the committee that worked on this for months and months and months? Or do you want to listen to the people who didn't get the bids? And if I were in your shoes, I would go with the people that have worked on this process for many, many months. Again, we are confident that it was done fairly and that the results will be very, very positive for the city, or we wouldn't have gotten this far with it, period. The problem I see is that the longer we wait to execute, the riskier it becomes for the city. We have some vulnerabilities as we've discussed in the past, and it's just not wise to wait any longer to get started on this. I hope we've provided enough information for you at this point so that you'll feel comfortable to go ahead and vote for this in the regular meeting. But again, you know, if you don't, then the longer we wait, the more risk there is involved. Does anyone have any questions about the technical part of it at all, or is that?
Yeah, Mike, is our email system going to be the same, or is it improved?
Well, that's one of the wonderful things that SimQuest has offered to do for us, Patrick, is to evaluate all of our systems. And the email system would be a good place to start, of course, because we're unhappy with it. But they have the expertise, we believe, to help us with a wide range of IT challenges, and their knowledge is great, so that we can rely on them to do any number of IT initiatives over the next year.
I'm just going to say something really quickly. I've been monitoring who's attending outside of our meeting, and I see we have a gentleman with his hand raised. So I just want to clarify as a point of order that when we have meetings within committee, that's not when we allow public comment unless the chair wants to take it. And there will be a section for public comment during the council meeting. So I just wanted to explain that as a point of order so that the gentleman doesn't think that we're ignoring him, but that will be up to the chair to determine if he takes public comment. So I just want to chime in, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. Well, that's really all I have to say about this. You know,
I'm comfortable moving all these items to the regular agenda. Although I would like on item 5 that the mayor pro tem or the Chamberlain is authorized to sign the managed service agreement. I've recused myself from this process, as you know.
Well, that suits me just fine if that's okay with our legal counsel.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So the remainder of this meeting, I'd like to devote to the budget, and I'd like to ask Councilor Moore and Richard Marks, if he's present, to discuss with us how they came to a compromise that we believe we all can live with in the budget. I am so happy that this process is nearing completion. I know it's been really difficult this year. There's been a lot of contention, some of that coming from me. But anyway, could we have some discussion on that, please? Councilor Moore.
Is Chamberlain Marks going to be joining in, or is he on the Zoom meeting?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. So chime in if I don't have anything correct. We spent a day going over all the numbers and fishing out what we could. We had some discussions with Public Works. They were very helpful. We did a few adjustments in that area, thanks to Mike Bissett. And we worked hard at coming up with what we felt was very reasonable and good proposals. I know everyone has had a look at that. I'm sure. I myself, I am very comfortable with that budget. Richard, did you have anything to add to that?
No, unless you want to go over specific details of what we changed and what we updated. If anybody wants to see that, I can go over that quickly.
Yeah, why don't we do that so that the public is aware of what the changes were? Because the last public budget meeting we had was several weeks ago now, I think. And so the public is aware of what the final numbers are and what that means for the city, what the tax levy will be, all those things. I think that would be really, really important.
Okay, so if someone will allow me to share the screen, I can put the general fund worksheet up that Patrick asked me to change on Monday, and then that Jeff Moore worked with me to change on Tuesday to come up with the final that we have.
Chamberlain Marks, on your Zoom screen in the center, there should be a green button that says share screen. Do you see that option?
I do.
If you click that, then you should be able to click whatever items you're willing to share.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it large enough?
It's large enough for me.
It's large enough for me too. I don't know what it looks like for people coming in at home, but yeah, I can see it very clearly.
Okay. Well, obviously this column is the one that we've finalized for the numbers, and at the very top you can see that, you know, the new adjusted number, anticipated adjusted number for assessed value, which is going to include the 3.8 million reduction for Georgia Pacific and another $40,000 reduction for a regular homeowner. That's the new taxable assessed value, and we've arrived at a real property tax number based on, as you see up here, here's where we started, and these are all the adjustments that are in and out to get it to where it is right now, to derive an $11.41 tax rate, which is a 2.035% reduction from the current rate in 2020 of $11.65. This column that I think you all received this has the same summary of adjustments of $158,000 roughly that comes off of the property tax number that we were dealing with the last time I had issued this worksheet to everybody. And all we have to do is go down this column O, and you can see where all the adjustments came from. I called the county and they updated our revenue by $17,825 to a new number of $3,922,000 roughly. That was based on talking to Rebecca Murphy and, their revised projection for 2021 for the whole county. That's our piece of the increase. Still leaves us short of where we were, budgeted 2020 of $4,275,000 by about an 8.5% reduction. That's per the county, and of course, where I say per MB, this is Mike Bissett adjusting numbers throughout the budget, where he said, first of all, he thought we were 7,000 low on our public works services revenue. And Councilor Moore, I think you were part of the discussion with him that we had to arrive at that number. So he's confident that revenue increase should be there. So we took it from 2,500 to 9,500 by $7,000. So that, of course, gives you the same $7,000 reduction in the property taxes that you see up here. You see the 17,825 we just talked about from the county, and then the 7,000. So all the way down this column, you'll see where these things are reductions or increases, and they have a corresponding impact on this number to change the property taxes. The next one is $3,002, where I noticed that our forfeiture crime revenues that we've got coming in versus the expenses. These are the two revenue items versus the expenses down here in the budget. I don't mean to bounce around too much, but they have to equal this number here. And this was a reduction in the telephone costs that I'm going to get to in a minute. And so that has to be reflected up here in the revenue item as a corresponding change. And I also found that there was 5,184 that was out of balance on that in the first place. So one's a reduction and one's an increase. And so therefore that 3,002 also impacts the property taxes up here as well. Those two numbers right there. So the reason for the telephone change we were just talking about is because the estimate for the IT charges is now been revised to $200,000 from $285,000. And that sharing to the general fund saves $57,000 on the prorational basis that the telephone costs are shared. So each and every one of these line items for telephone costs has been changed to now only be a 75% increase instead of a 130% increase. So that 57,000 is reflected in all of these telephone line items. And that was a big change we needed. We confirmed with Councilor Kelly what the numbers were going to be based on the quotes that he saw coming in, and the lowest quote was going to be in the $200,000 range once we get through with all the things that we have to establish in our network and through our computer revisions, upgrades to equipment, printer downgrades, and so forth and so forth. So that reduced that overall charge from 285 down to 200. So there's an $85,000 pickup, of which 57,000 goes to the general fund. Once again, all these changes go to serve to reduce the property taxes above. Unfortunately, this is an add-on in this account, and this is the clerical staff in the finance office, the 24% sharing that goes into finance and the 76% sharing that goes into data processing. Those things are added on, so they would add to the property taxes. Once again, the telephone adjustment, another telephone adjustment. And this adjustment for police payroll is the elimination of a vacant position for dispatcher. And I believe that Councilor Gibbs has consulted with Patrick and with Jeff and with Councilor Kelly and Councilor Brody about that. And they're all in agreement that that's a reduction that they've approved.
Yes, I presume that's true because it seemed to be one area in the police payroll line that council did not support.
Okay. Once again, a big adjustment in the telephone account for the police. All of these adjustments for the telephone add up to $56,694. Another telephone adjustment in asset seizure, which I already talked about, affecting the income side of the asset seizure. another telephone adjustment in fire, another one in building inspector. We've got a regular payroll reduction per Mike Bissett. He thought that this payroll line was overstated by this amount. And Councilor Moore, do you remember for which position he was talking about?
I did not.
That's Mike Brody retiring, I believe. Right?
I can't.
Well, okay, yes, you're right. That is correct. Patrick, you and I did that on Monday. That's right. Thanks. Yeah, you see the calculation in the upper left-hand side. 32,537 is the impact for Mike Brody's position not being funded next year, and the 1,941 is for the increase in Mike Bissett's position next year. So yes, thanks for reminding me about that. So that's a significant reduction in the general fund. Mike Brody is only allocated in the general fund to be 27.3%. So that's where that factor comes from. And Mike Bissett's the same. So their reductions and increases net are going to have a bigger impact on water and sewer, because water is 37% and I think sewer is 33%. Now the rest of these changes per MB, Mike Bissett, are reductions in expenses that he said that they can absorb in DPW. And the net change in all of the account changes that are put in here for DPW are $61,500. So there's a big impact on the reduction of the taxes by $61,500 from DPW's budgeting.
Got them all back to snow and ice.
The biggest problem was that originally we thought we were going to reduce this account by some $50,000, but when Mike Bissett went over the details of what's in that account, he accounted for every dollar of that for materials that they have to buy next year for salt, sand, winter mix, asphalt, and also for thaw rocks. So it's all spoken for. So that originally, Patrick, was the adjustment that we had put in on Monday, but it had to come back out after we talked to Mike Bissett on Tuesday.
Yeah, and
But
thanks
this-
for Mike Bissett to come in and really help out with that.
Yes, and he did. He saw a lot of accounts that he thought would be able to be reduced because of the impact of the spending that they're not going to be doing next year. Telephone, once again, in community development, that's part of the whole 56,694 reduction. 2,500 in reduction for repairs of motor vehicles under waste collection. Once again, Mike Bissett. All these are Mike Bissett. This one had to be an increase, though. He didn't think we had left enough vehicle supplies and parks and beautification for fuel, so that had to go up 3,000. But he thought that this one could go down 20,000 because contract services weren't going to be as high as 30,000, what they had anticipated at first. Social Security benefits, all I did was go and recalculate the total of all the payrolls times 7.65%. So that was a reduction of 3,412 because of the changes above. I reduced healthcare by 15,182 as the final figure in coming to a 2.03.5% reduction in property taxes. We think that that savings will be there in the healthcare because of the low rate that the healthcare costs are running right now. The one big addition in this section at the bottom was where Patrick said that we had to add 41,200 back to the contribution of the library to remain at just a 5% reduction in their funding from the city.
Yeah, and to give Councilor Brody, Councilor Kelly, and the mayor an update. Elizabeth, Jeff, and I sort of met, and I we asked to meet because I'm like, look, we need this 41,200 for the library because that's a 4.99% deduction to the expenditure to the library from 751,458 down to 713,886. That, according to Education Law Section 272J2, I believe, if we can't cut, that poison pill would take into effect if we cut more than 5%. So that was the minimum we could go with the library. With the COVID, so going lower than that, to me, was a non-issue. or was a debt issue. So we sat down and we started working on what we think we could cut to get a budget that hopefully everyone would agree with. And that's how this process started. And obviously, Jeff and Mike Bissett really brought that to the finish line. So thanks a lot for them.
Counselors, I'd like to remind you that it's about 5 minutes before the regular meeting starts. So we should go ahead and wrap up this discussion for now. I'd like to move on with your permission to discuss or to move the items forward for tonight's council meeting. It's items 1 through 5. May I have a motion to move those items, please?
Make that motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion. So,
Counselor Kelly,
yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Reed,
Yes. And please recall that we substituted language for Mayor Pro Tem to authorize signing item 5.
Yes. We'll take care of that during the regular meeting. Mr. Mayor.
Did you move all items or 1 through 5? That's what I heard from at home.
All items, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought I heard 1 through 5. I'm sorry.
You did, but you're right. I should have said all items. Okay, so guess with that, we'll ask for any old business, any new business.
I was gonna check with Mike. Did those numbers correctly reflected what we spoke about, I believe?
It appeared to be, I mean, I was hoping I'd get something on a piece of paper ahead of time, but it looks like the changes were what I had penciled down.
Yeah.
Water, sewer, and I haven't seen it, but I did run through that with Rich, I believe over the phone and everything.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this Finance and Budget Committee.
Second that.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Reed,
Yes. With that, let's please begin tonight's Common Council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, visible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed,
Present.
Counselor Kelly,
Here.
Counselor Gibbs,
Here.
Counselor Brody,
Here.
Counselor McFarland, Counselor Moore,
Here.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the last meeting of the year for this Common Council. You'll be having another Common Council and new mayor. Our next meeting, we're now going to be going into our council hiatus for the remainder of the year. It's been certainly an honor to serve the residents of Plattsburgh and these 4 Common Councils over the last 4 years. And certainly look forward to observing in private life how the city is able to live up to its vast potential in the upcoming years. It's some very exciting times, and I thank you all, and I wish you all a very nice holiday. Thank you. Please continue.
resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on December 10th, 2020 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councillor McFarland, second by Councillor Brody. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Mayor, can I ask someone in the chambers to go let someone in the front door to view the meet, come into the meeting, please?
Thank you.
And Beth, I'll just note that I'm sure you noticed that I'm here. I missed the roll call.
Yes, I saw you. Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending December 16th, 2020, in the amount of $562,819.67 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kelly and second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. At this time, I'll entertain any reports from the council chairs, beginning government strategy and city operations. Councilor Brody.
At this time, there's nothing new to report.
City infrastructure, Councilor Moore.
I didn't have anything to report other than I'm glad the storm missed us for once.
Finance and budget, Councilor Kelly.
Nothing new to add, Mayor.
Public safety, Councilor Gibbs.
Nothing new to report, thanks.
Plattsburgh Public Library, Councilor McFarland.
Mayor, I have nothing new to report.
And MLD Board President, Councilor McFarland.
Also nothing new to report, Mayor.
Resolved, the reports as listed are hereby received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Moore and second by Councilor Gibbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Next order of business. Thank you all for coming. You and your wonderful family. The mayor hands down the appointment of Jamie Canales to the vacant common council seat of Ward 1 beginning December 18th, 2020 and expiring December 31st, 2021. Mr. Canales is a valued member of our local business community, but can bring all kinds of expertise to our common council. And I believe you have no party affiliation at this time. Approximately a dozen people, as you know, approached me to wish to fill this seat, and I interviewed most all of them, and I'm very impressed with the credentials. I think you're also the pastor at a local church as well, which certainly be a welcome addition, and the diversity you can bring to the common council is very much appreciated as well. So roll call.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
There's nothing, nothing personal behind my vote. I just think that this appointment really should go to special election and let the people decide. So I'm going to vote no.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland, Counselor McFarland,
Sorry. Wow. I don't know Jamie Canales. The first time I heard the name was when the mayor first said it there. I'm sure he's a very nice person. I don't know, Beth. I'll vote. I'll vote no at this time, Beth.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
That's 3 yeses and 2 nos. Can the mayor break the tie, or is that team?
Can you just give me 1 second? I was unaware of this appointment. I'm just reviewing the charter as we speak, so just give me 1 second. So we look at section C210, filling of vacancies. The mayor, subject to confirmation by the affirmative vote of 3 councilors, shall appoint a qualified person to fill a vacancy until a person who is elected to serve the remainder of the unexpired term takes office. So yes, 3 affirmative votes by the council will carry this.
So the motion is adopted.
Congratulations. Congratulations to your family. Great to have your board.
Congratulations, Jamie. Is he there at the?
I believe there's no correspondences or recommendations from boards at this time. Please continue.
I'm muted. Resolved that the bills audited by the Common Council for the week ending December 18th, 2020 in the amount of $5,030,733.24 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councillor Brody, second by Councillor Moore. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Are there any individuals who'd like to address the council on items on the agenda tonight? I believe there's none in this room. Are there any online? Ethan?
Yes, Greg is, I'm pulling him forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to address the meeting this evening. I'm Greg McConnell. I'm Vice President and CFO of the Champlain Telephone Company. Our subsidiary, KNS, has been the incumbent managed service provider for the city for the past couple of years. I was extremely surprised to see that the MSP contract was on the agenda tonight, as we submitted our proposal to the city some 10 months ago without further contact, question, or clarification. I respectfully disagree with, I think, one of the comments that was made earlier that said everyone had an opportunity to present their proposal. We did not, which we find odd. In our proposal was over 1,000 pages, and that there was no question, no comment, no further articulation of any aspects of our proposals. We found that very strange. The request for proposal was issued 14 months ago, and of course, many things have changed in the interim. And again, based on some of the prior conversation, again, I have to respectfully disagree. The original request for proposal was a request for proposal for voice services, for data services, for fiber network services, and MSP services. We bid on everything. And as it was pointed out before, MSP was just a subset, one subset of the entire RFP. And yet we had no opportunity to go back and bid and quote just on the MSP service alone. As I said before, we've been the incumbent MSP provider for the city, and for the past 12 months, we've invoiced the city of Plattsburgh $83,388 for the MSP services. I was likewise surprised to see the resolution as presented on tonight's agenda would award the MSP services to another vendor for $108,696, or an increase of over 30%. It would seem in an atmosphere of budgetary constraint that before obligating the city to a long-term contract, there should be more review, discussion, and consideration. And I would strongly encourage all the councilors to take a look at the original request for proposal, and you will see what I'm explaining is exactly the case. It was a much different scope of service than simply MSP services and what is being proposed here tonight. Therefore, I would encourage and respectfully request that the councilors of the City Council table Resolution E until a more thorough and complete review can be conducted and the current needs of the city and the proposals submitted can be aligned. Thank you.
Any other further comments from members of the public? Ethan?
At this time, no.
Okay, please continue. Thank you.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with Plattsburgh Professional Firefighters Association Local 2421 for EMT3 participation in the New York State Bridge Program.
Moved by Councillor Gibbs and second by Councillor Brody. Sorry. Discussion, and I might mention this is the same bridge program you've been discussing for some time. As you know, probably the thing that was holding up the agreement for the longest time was to ensure that the city would not be investing in individuals that wouldn't subsequently chose not to complete the program of study. And that has since been ironed out between the various legal counsels to the point of their satisfaction. So that's what brings it to us today.
I see Chief Lawless is a panelist. Could he explain what the benefit to the city is going to be?
Please, and I think he sent something around, and I asked him, knowing that the Finance Committee is meeting, to be able to answer your questions with regard to any fiscal impact of this as well. So please, Chief Lawless.
Yes, right now, our highest level that we have one paramedic. New York State has eliminated critical care, which is the majority of our department. In order to move people to paramedic, we have to bridge them. And when it's a program that's over 600 hours of online. We've worked diligently with the union, try to get the cost down, because as our current contract is in play, we would have to pay for every hour of that training, and that would be at over $18,000 for each individual that needs to do it. Currently, it looks like we're going to have 5 people have expressed interest in doing this. The savings for what we would pay is going to be substantial for just the training alone. But what it's going to do is it's going to add us to be able to charge for ALS2 at which is a $200 increase per call in our charge fee schedule. So we would be able to do that, and we're confident that this is going to be moving us towards the future with better care.
Thank you.
Did that answer all questions, sir? Roll call.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Brody?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Thank you, Chief, for all your hard work on this.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves that bid F450 Super Cab dump truck with plow be awarded to Van Bortel Ford in the amount of $65,820.81.
Moved by Councillor Gibbs and second by Councillor McFarland. Discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Brody?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves the construction contract for the Arts Park electrical work to be completed as part of the DRI's improvements to the Betty Little Arts Park be awarded to the low bidder, Triangle Electric Systems, Inc., in the amount of $72,128, and authorizes the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Moved by Councillor Gibbs, second by Councillor Moore. Discussion? And I think I asked to ensure that there's no implications at all on city taxpayers in this, and was reassured there would not be. This would be funded from the DRI, if I understand correctly.
And that's correct. All of these funds will be reimbursable through the DRI.
Perfect. That was going to be one of my questions. The only other one I had is when, Matt, do you know when this work is going to start and when it's projected to be finished?
I believe the bid specification included a projected start date sometime in April or May of 2021 with a completion date around September. So it'll be the bulk of next construction season.
I'm sorry, you broke up there. I didn't hear the end date.
Sure. It's currently scheduled to be completed sometime in September of next year.
Okay.
Roll call?
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves continuing the contract with Elmore SPCA for dog control services for stray and abandoned dogs within the city of Plattsburgh for 2021 for the total cost of $11,000, and there is no increase in cost from 2020.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves that the Mayor Pro Tem is authorized to sign a managed services agreement with SimQuest Group, Inc. for managed IT services, security services, and antivirus, anti-malware protection. The total cost will be $108,696 per year and will be paid of funds 1 through 6 in MLD.
Moved by Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Moore. Discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to correct something that Mr. McConnell said earlier, and that is the MSP or Managed Services Program part of this contract only comes to $64,620. That's $5,385 a month. The other items that make up the $108,000 he referred to, that includes security services, that's 24/7 monitoring and firewalls placed at 15 of our locations, all 15 of our locations. That includes antivirus for 150 computers for a year. And that's it. So that comes to $108,696.
I just express that I'm very pleased that we're getting this kind of firewall protection for the city. You've all heard of municipalities, even as close as Albany, that have been essentially held hostage. And this business of firewall protection is becoming increasingly big liability for cities, but increasingly difficult task to administer. So I think the committee's done a great job in looking for members of the community that can address those concerns for us and have the economies of scale that the city simply cannot afford. So we probably get much greater value by looking to larger entities who do this on a regular basis than trying to reinvent that wheel in-house, which has got a lot of municipalities in trouble across the country. So thank you very much for all your work on this. Regardless of who you end up choosing, I think they all have very good proposals to protect the city.
And I'll note that I know that Councilor Barbell, Councilor Kelly, and Councilor Moore have been working on this for a long time. I like to poke fun at them that the three oldest members of the council were on the IT committee, and they constantly asked me if I wanted to join them and be a part of it. I always declined because I didn't think I had the time to really put into it. Thank you for that. It was nice when that budget explanation that Richard just went through. It certainly was nice seeing the numbers drop there, because that's something that hits every department. Especially, I know it was hitting the library very hard. That's nice to see. And I know there was some issues brought up by a letter to the council, and obviously Mr. McConnell obviously came and spoke.
McConnell.
Sorry, what?
McConnell.
McConnell, yeah.
Oh, if I said his name wrong, I apologize. But we've heard Mike and Jeff say they evaluated all the RFPs. And obviously that gentleman asked to table. I have no problem with tabling, but in this instance, I thank Mike and Jeff for all their hard work on that committee, and Ira as well. So that's all I have to say about that.
Just a slight point of order, you can't table from one council to the next. This is the end of this 2020 Common Council.
You know, one thing I'd like to add that you won't see in the contracts that that we're signing tonight, as Mr. Marks stated, we've put aside a large sum of money to do many upgrades to our systems this year. And this could just be the beginning. If any other IT provider in the city or in our region wants to bid on future work, then yes, let's do that. One of the great things that I like about SimQuest's proposal is that they propose to put a CIO, our Chief Information Officer, in essence, on our site to help us plan future moves. That would include, for example, voice over IP. That would include maybe moving our operations more to the cloud and away from, client server type systems. So we're just really confident that SimQuest is professional. They've got the reach that it's going to take to make sure that the city gets all the IT services that we need. They have a really, really deep bench in their operation. So there's really almost anything we can ask them to do for us going forward. So I'm just really excited about it, and I can't wait to see this start and take place. And I hope I can be a part of it. I hope I can maybe sit on an IT committee that helps plan the future of our city's information technology. We're lagging behind a little bit, and we definitely need to catch up.
Any further comments? Roll call.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves the City Chamberlain to transfer funds from the water, sewer, and library operating accounts to fund their respective capital spending reserves, as well as the water fund debt reserve for spending requirements in 2021 and forward.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Brody. Discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Resolved, the Common Council hereby accepts and adopts the attached amendments to the mayor's proposed budget for 2021 dated December 17th, 2020, the substance and form of which is attached hereto and made a part of the minutes and has been reviewed by all members of the City of Plattsburgh Common Council.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Moore. Discussion? Or continuation discussion from the previous.
Yeah, I will note that this was discussed pretty in depth at the committee meeting, and it seemed like we were pretty much done. Richard was done going through it. If he has anything else he'd like to say, I'd be happy to hear it. But I do know that I asked for this to be put on the agenda. We were doing a lot of budget workshops. A lot of this was done. There's a lot of compromises. I know Elizabeth made a lot of compromises. Jeff made a lot of compromises, and I definitely tip my hat to Mike Bissett here, because I know he came in and kind of added a lot and made a lot of savings, which I will say that the Department of Public Works is generally the one that does that. I can remember, I think it was 2 years ago when we were here on January 4th for a 4-hour meeting trying to finish the budget. And at the end, it was Mike Brody that came in and said, this last bit, take it from us. We can cut it from this line. So I think that's fantastic. There's a lot of, certainly a lot of cooperation going into this and a lot of compromise as well. A 2% tax deduction. I know it's not as much as Mike wanted, but I think that's a balanced budget with a 2% tax deduction in this year with COVID still ravaging the country. I think that's a good result. So I'm going to vote for this, and I hope the rest of the council does too.
Yeah, I agree with you, Patrick.
I'd like to say thank you for your comments. There was a great deal of compromise here, and I really did believe that this would be the year that we would drop a really nice Christmas present on the laps of our taxpayers and give them a 15% tax cut, but that proved not to be politically possible or financially possible from the looks of it. So we're gonna do this. There are two things that we need to do, I believe, and I've said this before, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. We need to lower taxes in our city, and we need to encourage development. And luckily, those two things go hand in hand. And any budget that lowers our tax rate puts us on that path. And I'm so grateful that we could come up with even a 2% tax cut. Means a great deal to our taxpayers, and it means a great deal to the future of our city in terms of development. If we can continue to do that, if we can continue to streamline government over the next few years, then we can achieve the type of Plattsburgh we all want to live in, a city that's healthy and growing rather than declining. So again, I think somebody said that the best legislation is legislation that all the legislators hate. So I do hate aspects of this budget, but I like aspects of this budget too. And I hope you all feel the same way. Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to commend everybody that worked on this budget. We all put a lot of effort and deliberation into it. I know we all had very definite ideas of what we wanted for an outcome. And after a great difficulty, we finally came together, and I'm really pleased. And I really want to thank everybody. I know how much time I spent and everyone else that spent all this time and did all these movements to make this all work out. I really appreciate everyone.
I would just like to say that I am in agreement with you, and I like the compromise. I like the fact that the dispatchers are still in the budget. I like the expansion of the police department with a chain of command. I like the fact that the community development office is still going to be there. I like the fact that the city clerk is having his assistant, our clerk down there. I'm very happy with everything in it. The thing that I want to stress, though, is we're happy over 2%. We do have the knowledge and we do have the way to bring a 20 to 30% tax break to the taxpayers of the city of Plattsburgh. We do have a way to eliminate the headache and the strife that goes on with the budgets. And it is by adopting the special service fees. And we found out that it's not as hard as it should be, or we were told it would be, that it's something that could be achieved. And that's something that the council should be working on for 2021. It would save, here we are, we saved 2%. I wanted to save 15, but we saved 2. Isn't that wonderful? Hey, let's save 20. Let's save 30%. Let every taxpayer, you want a city that grows, take 30% of everybody's property taxes. You want to see people come in? Hey, there's no property taxes there at all. That's the savings. That's the incentive. 2% is a start, but 30% would be a dream. And it's possible. It's not impossible. And that's where I think we should be heading, or actually you guys should be heading consistent there. And then it takes the budget process and puts it out in front of the people. It allows them to see how much each of the departments are costing them. And then if the people object, then it gives you the power and the right to make changes. Otherwise, I'm in favor of the budget.
Roll call.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
No travel requests at this time. Are there any resolutions for initial consideration? Although it might not make sense given this is the very final meeting of the council. New business or council reports?
So I'd like to say something very quickly. And I'd like to thank Colin for his service as mayor to the city. I know that this year has been very difficult for everyone, and you took a strong leadership role on the COVID crisis. And I want to thank you for everything you've done. And I wish you well post mayor's appointment. And I hope everything goes well for you in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Yeah, Elizabeth kind of hit on what I was gonna say. It was a tough year, and I would definitely like to thank Colin and Steve Brody. Steve was a great addition late into the council, and certainly has a lot of focus. And I will certainly be following up with him to pursue his ideas with curb fees that he was just talking about, because I know we have been talking with Assemblyman Jones's office. And Colin, definitely thank you for everything, and best of luck to both of you. I'd also like to, I look forward to working with Mayor-elect Rosenquist, City Councilor Talon, and if I haven't got his name wrong, Jamie Canales. I look forward to meeting him. And if Jeff or someone that's there, if he's still there, could give him my cell phone number. I look forward to reaching out to him and touching and having a conversation with him. I think that would be great. And everyone have a happy Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year, and I look forward to next year.
Yes, and I'd like to follow up on something Patrick just said, which is also a thank you to Steve Brody. I really have enjoyed working with you, and I hope that you can continue to keep your connections with us, because you do have a lot of really great financial ideas, that I think stem from your business background. And I also would like to welcome on our new counselor. Our phone numbers are public and they're on the city's website. I'm hoping that you will reach out to us. I really would like to set up some time to meet you and get to know you better before you come on to your first council meeting in January. So welcome.
Well, I'd like to thank Steve for his service. He told us he'd only do till the end of the term, and he did, and he did very well. And I want to thank Colin for 4 years of hard work. It was appreciated very much. The mayor job is it's not always a job that ends up keeping everyone happy, but you do have to maintain the services, and very happy with that. And I wish him the very best in whatever he does on his retirement from public service. And I also want to say I look forward to working with Councilor Talon and Mayor Rosenquist in the coming year. And welcome Jamie Canales, and Merry Christmas to all.
Well, I'll chime in also, and likewise, all of those thank yous to everyone. Mr. Brody, you have always been a challenge to me at times, but I need to be challenged, so I appreciate that. And I hope you will continue to be that way. You're a wonderful person to talk to at any time. And Mayor Reed, I think I've learned more about city finance working with you over the last 4 years than I could ever hope to know. And I will always be grateful to you for that. And I wish you well in wherever life takes you next. And to our 2 new counselors joining us in January, can't wait. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I think you're going to find you're working with some great minds, myself accepted, of course, but really, really, really good people. You're going to enjoy it. So looking forward to the new year. And Mayor-elect Rosenquist, also looking forward to your leadership. I think that's going to be just a wonderful catalyst for change in our city. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be an exciting year next year.
Thank you all. Any additional council reports?
Just like
Seeing
to
none,
say-
are there any closing public comments on any topic of mutual interest? Ethan,
There are no hands raised.
I have a motion to adjourn for the 2020 council season. Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Moore. Roll call.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Guess he wants to
Sure.
stay.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Thank you all. Have a great holiday too, and stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.
It's been a pleasure. I tried to say something.